Good morning, UC Davis yoga people. My name is Linda Nueva. I'm a certified Iyengar yoga teacher, and today we'll be doing a simple morning practice. Come to an easy seated position. I'm sitting in Hero's Pose. Pick either Hero's Pose or an easy cross-legged position. Let the lower half of the body be heavy. Bring your attention to your sacrum, and I'm going to place my hand behind my back and press in on my sacrum. Bring the sacrum into the body and lift the spine up from there. Allow the collarbones to widen from side to side so that you feel a sense of the chest getting wider. And let the sides of the waist be long. Hands to prayer position. We'll chant 3 Oms together to begin practice. Keep the lift of the chest as you bow the head to the heart. Let the neck be long. On the next inhalation, lift the head and release the back of the palms to the tops of the thighs. So I'm going to turn myself towards you for the next pose so you can see exactly what I'm doing since we're seated. So I'm turning to my side. And I'm starting in Hero's Pose again. My knees are together, fingertips behind the knee joint, and I'm rolling the flesh out to the sides to make room behind the knee joint to sit down. If you're tight in the quads, by all means, take 2 blocks if you need to. And if that's not available today, then sit in an easy cross-legged position. So your left leg, keep that in Virasana. And now on an exhalation, bend the right leg, point the knee straight up to the ceiling. Press the left toes into the floor on the Hero's Pose side, and press the right foot into the floor as you keep the knee up. So every pose has a sense of leverage and foundation. Create that by pressing both of the feet into the floor. Bring your awareness to your hip bones. Lift the torso. Widen the collarbones just like we did in the invocation. And lift the arms over the head. Straighten the elbows as best you can. And lift through the fingertips. Get as much extension as possible. Exhale, take the arms down. So I'm going to bend the right leg back into Hero's Pose. Carefully, gingerly. And on the next exhalation, I'm bending the left leg so that the knee points straight to the ceiling. So if you feel like your knee is splaying out to the side, gently bring it back in. Press the right toes into the floor. And then keep that left foot firm. Find the foundation of the pose through the feet. Inhale, lift the arms up. That's it, that's it. Get your first big stretch of the day. Exhale, release. Back to hero's pose. To come out of hero's pose, stand up on your knees, cross the calves in the middle, and extend out into staff pose. And come to a standing position. So if you have a chair handy, and if you feel like extra stiff today, by all means use it. We're going to do downward facing dog. You have the choice to do downward facing dog on the floor, or you can elevate the hands up on a chair or ledge. I'll show it with the hands up on a chair or ledge. Place the hands in front of you and walk back on your mat. Separate your feet more than usual and come up onto the toe mounds. Extend the heels down to the floor. Keep the feet in the same plane. Lift the kneecaps. Lift the quadriceps towards the hips and press the quadriceps back. So we're working the legs and working the arms to get extension in the spine. To come out of the pose, walk towards the chair, place your hands on your hips, and come up from the tops of the shoulders. If you have a block handy, that's great. If you have a book handy, that's also great. And you can also do the next pose with no block as well. So you've got some choices. Mountain pose. Lift the kneecaps, lift the quadriceps. Find that length in the sides of the waist and the width of the collarbones. Place the block in front of you and face the palms towards each other. So there's a gentle squeezing of the elbows. Be firm in the feet, be firm in the legs, and on an inhalation, extend the arms over the head and lift the block. Press the hands towards the block. Squeeze the elbows towards the block. That's it. This is really good for the shoulders. Exhale, release. That's it. And then place the block down. So come into the middle of the mat and let's start with the pose we all know and love, triangle pose. I'm going to mirror you to the right. We'll start with the right first. You can have a block if it's handy. That would be great. Mountain pose. Hands in front of you. Bend the knees and step or jump wide. Keep the feet in the same plane. Press down the feet and straighten the legs. You'll feel the sacrum come deeper into the body and stretch the arms out into infinity. Out into infinity in line with the shoulders. Turn the entire right leg out and the back leg in. Keep that wide expanse in the upper body and the awareness in your legs that the legs are straight. On the next exhalation, extend out through the torso, and you can take the hand either to the block behind the ankle or on the calf, and extend the left arm up in line with the shoulders. So if you have neck issues, look straight ahead. And if it's available for you today, on the next exhalation, turn the head to look up at the left arm. Where's the foundation in this pose? It's in the feet. Bring your awareness to the left heel. Plant that left heel into the floor as you lift the left arm even higher. And then let the left arm bring you out of the pose. Extended feet, extended leg, extended arms. Take your block over onto the left side. Turn the right leg in, turn the entire left leg out. And you'll see I'm being precise about where the block is in relationship to my ankle. It's right behind my ankle. Straight legs. Find that foundation, just like we did in the first pose. Collarbones are wide, and stretch the arms to infinity and beyond. Bring your awareness into the right heel. Dig down and see how that changes the lightness of the pose on the upper body. Extend the torso over the left side. Place the hand on the block and lift the right arm up in line with the shoulder. Straight arms, straight legs. Find the foundation of the pose, a sense of comfort and ease, by pressing down with the right heel and let the right arm ascend. Come out of the pose. Inhale, come up. Face the toes forwards. Feet together. The next pose is Warrior One. Toes together. So you can really see I'm creating one unit with my legs by lifting up the kneecap. It's like old school pantyhose. My quadriceps are lifting up to the hips. I say this all the time. And the torso gently lifts off the hip bones. And my collarbones are wide. Virabhadrasana 1, Warrior 1. Step or jump wide, yes. Keep the feet in the same line. You can look down for just a sec to make sure you're lifting the arches of the feet and reestablish that sense of the arms extending out to infinity in line with the shoulders. On the next exhalation, spin the palms up to the ceiling. How does that feel? I can really feel my sternum and my chest lifting. Keeping the palms spinning towards the ceiling, extend the arms upward as if you had the block in the very first pose. Now, if your elbows are bending, just see what's possible. See what's possible. Feet plant into the floor and the arms lift up. Let's turn to the right. So the right foot goes out to the right and the left foot turns strongly in. So we can do a heel to heel alignment today. So we're doing Virabhadrasana 1 with heel to heel alignment. Now I'm tapping my back leg, which is going to be your back leg. What I really care about today is this back leg being straight. It will really help you. And keeping your awareness into the lower back so there's no hardness there. If you feel a sense of hardness, see what must be done to make it soft but yet work in the pose. Left heel down, left leg straight. Bend the right leg towards 90 degrees. Keep the arms lifting up without creating too much of a sense of hardness in the lower back. Inhale, come up. Point the toes forwards. Reestablish the lift of the pose with the arms up. And now turn the left leg out and the right leg in. Heel to heel alignment, slightly wider. The right leg is straight and the left leg bends. So you can really feel an opening on that back leg. Inhale, lift up. Come back to the middle. Bring the arms down and step back to mountain pose. We're going to do a variation of Vashistasana. I'm going to say it again. Vashistasana, who is named after a sage who was known for his particularly edgy take on life. Come into a crawling position. And I'll show you the pose silently first, and then I'll talk you through it. But I am starting in a crawling position. So let's do it together. Come into a crawling position. Keep the palms and the knees in the same line, and extend the calves also in a straight line. So if you've got the hands here and the knee out here, organize the pose for yourself so that the hands, the knees, and the feet are in the same line. Press down through the hands. Point the middle finger straight forward so you can really feel the palm opening up from all that mouse work. And on an exhalation, lift up the left leg and place the left heel in line with the right knee. And I'm making a sort of a right angle, moving towards a right angle with the left foot. I'm going to turn to the forward so you can see it from that angle too. And then we have the triangle pose arm. Let's do it, okay? Crawling position. Left heel in line with right knee. Lift the arm up. Just like triangle pose, you can look straight ahead, or if it's available, you can look up to the fingertips. Gentle twist. Exhale, release the pose. I'm going to turn around so that when I lift the right leg, that you can see the pose a bit better. Crawling position. Right heel in line with the left knee. Press the hands down, and on the next exhalation, lift up the right arm in line with the shoulder. Press the top of the left foot down and the right sole of the foot into the floor. So that foundation is helping you get a sense of lift from the arm and opening in the chest. Exhale, come down. And I'm going to show you another variation of downward facing dog. So usually we do downward facing dog with the hands straight forwards. So today I'm going to ask you just to take your arms out so that the middle finger's at about 10 and 1, almost like you're at a driving wheel. And this is really, again, super good for the shoulders to do this variation of downward facing dog. You can do it in your office, you can do it at home. Come check it out. Let's do it. Crawling position. I'm turning my hands out so that the middle fingers are at 10 and 1. I'm bending the knees so that my hips come up very high. Abdomen in towards the spine. So I want to get as much length through the spine as possible. Exhale, yes. Take the backs of the heels towards the floor. What do you need to do to straighten the legs? Press the thighs back so you can really extend through the spine. And to come out of the pose, walk towards the hands, straighten the legs, hands on the hips, and come up. Now let's take a wide mountain pose. I've got my feet about farther than hips width apart, maybe about a foot apart. I took a brief look down to make sure that I'm lifting up my arches of my feet. And I'm turning to the side because we talked about the sacrum. The sacrum really is going to plug in mountain pose or in mountain pose. So if you feel that you have too much of a curve with respect to your own body and the natural curves in your back, place the hand on the sacrum and bring it into the body and find that sense of natural alignment. Straight legs, sacrum in, widen the collarbones. Inhale, lift the arms, and then catch the hand to the opposite elbow and lift the elbows up. And on an exhalation, fold forwards. I'm going to turn towards you so you can see I'm really working at lifting my kneecaps and straightening my quadriceps and bringing the weight so that my buttocks is over my heels. This will really help you extend the spine. Clasp the other way. Bring the hands to the hips. And come on up. Sit in staff pose on your mat. Feet together. Place the hands on top of the thighs and just give the thighs a suggestion of pressing down. Hands next to the hips. Cross the legs. This one's really good if you've been doing a lot of sitting positions. And then you can take the buttocks flesh and pull it out to the side and back to create more space. Fold forwards from the hips. Cup the fingers. If the fingers need some help reaching the floor, then place the fingertips on the block. And you'll probably feel a stretch across the top and middle part of the buttocks. So it's like if you've been seated or just in the car too long. Crawl the fingertips forwards, keeping the chest lifted and open. Keep your awareness with the breath. Bring the hands back close to you. Staff pose. Cross the legs the opposite way. I tend to always start with the right leg and then do the left leg. That way I know where I am in my practice. Keep your attention with your asana practice. Resist spacing out. And pitch the torso over the hips with the fingertips cupped in front of you. It might feel different on the other side. This side for me feels a bit wonkier. Like it needs just a little more love and time being in the pose. Dandasana, staff pose. I want to show you Plow Pose, which really is one of my favorite poses, and it helps so much with stress. If you're menstruating, please skip this pose, and if you're menstruating, if you have a chair in your office or a couch, you can bring that chair over to the front, and then you can place a blanket on the chair, rest the head for a supported forward bend in the alternative. Sound good? Great. So I've got 3 blankets, and I'm taking the blunt edge side of the blanket and placing it at the edge of the mat like so. And again, you have the option of doing a seated forward bend. So you can see, I'm just turning the blanket towards you. You can see I've got the blunt side of the blankets facing towards the edge. I'm folding the mat and bringing it about halfway in the blanket setup. And placing a block right at the edge. Now, if you want to try Halasana just for a second, you feel like it's going to be too low for your feet to be on the chair, you can also touch the feet to a wall and just come into the pose for just a second to get a flavor for it. Okay? Sit on the block. The knees are bent. It's just like our very first pose with the knee pointing up to the ceiling, so we've already done this. Recline over your setup with the spine even, and then place the neck so that it's completely cradled like a cup and a saucer with your blanket setup. And I'm also resting the center of the back of my head, so I'm not turning my head either from side to side. And then my sacrum is resting on the block. At the tops of my shoulders, I'm about 2 or 3 inches from the blanket setup. Exhale, draw the knees in, and then roll, and then swing the legs to the back of the chair. Now you can see I'm adjusting myself, so I'm rolling my shoulders down and in. It's early in the morning for me, so this is the first version of my day. My back feels a little bit tighter. I'm placing the palms as low as I can onto the back, and I'm lifting the thighs up, so the thighs don't sink in towards me in Plow Pose. They lift up. Mountain Pose legs. Extend out through the heels. I can really feel the muscles on the sides of my spine start to lift and start to open. To come out of the pose, walk your feet towards the edge of the chair. Guide the sacrum down towards the block with the knees bent. Lower the feet to the floor. And then to come out of the pose, I'm squeezing myself like toothpaste over the blanket setup so my shoulders are on the floor. Knees bent. And I'm opening the chest, letting the chest passively open. Knees to the chest. Exhale. And roll on up. Great. So we just had an introduction to a really safe and supported plow pose. And what's the purpose of the blanket? The blanket is to support the cervical spine and to allow us to stay in the pose longer. So here the props are here to help us be more comfortable in the pose so we can stay a longer amount of time and get more benefit from it. Sit in the middle of your mat, legs extended in front of you, hands by the sides of the hips. Separate the legs to create a wide angle so it's not the splits. Place the hands on the thighs. Press the thighs into the floor. And extend the legs so you feel an opening through the inner groin that goes all the way out through the inner line of the legs. If the feet are tilting either back or forwards, bring them in so that the toes face the ceiling. And let's take a gentle twist. Before we twist, check in with yourself. So those thighs are pressing down to the floor. Extend out through the heel. Attention to the collarbones. Let them be wide. And turn to the right. So when I'm turning to the right, it's really easy for like this left thigh to pop on up. Keep it down. Develop that sense of concentration and oneness with the pose by keeping that action going as you turn to the right. That's it, that's it. Exhale, release. Turn to the left. Bring the hands in front. Lift the arms overhead. Keep those legs, the legs are heavy, but yet the arms are light. And it's like that first pose. Pretend you've got the block there. And if you want, I can even get the block and see what it feels like to do it with the legs separated. Legs heavy. Walk in front. Lift the arms. You can use a book, use whatever you can, but let the prop teach you how to squeeze the arms, how to keep the lift of the torso with the legs working. Exhale, release. I'm going to toss in a little bit of challenge. You can redo the pose with the block and the arms overhead again. Or you can keep your hands on your thighs, pitch the torso forwards, place the thumb and middle finger between the big toe and the second toe, and wrap the thumb around. And take hold of the big toe. Legs heavy, torso light. Thighs down, collarbones are wide, and they even lift up a bit too. Sternum up. Straighten the arms and come forward. That's it. Exhale, release. Join the legs. Final pose, child's pose. If you've got a blanket handy, feel free to use it. Knees as wide as the torso. Bring the blanket up all the way behind the knee joint. That's it. And I think I've got the block here. May as well put my forehead on it. If you've got it, great. If you don't, no worries. It's a good variation for headaches. Extend the arm forwards and glue the buttocks towards the heels. Come out of the pose. Bring the hands towards the hips. Lift up, remove the blanket. And now let's consciously come into Shavasana. I'll show Shavasana with the blanket, but it's not necessary. And again, the tops of the blanket comes up to the tops of the shoulders. So we support the back of the head. Bend the knees. Take the sacrum and the buttocks down and in, and lower yourself to the elbows. Extend the right leg. Extend the left leg. You can lift the buttocks up and move the buttock flesh away from the lower back. That really helps the lower back. And let the legs release to the side, big toes to the smaller toes. Width in the chest. Lift up the shoulders and tuck the shoulder blades in so you feel as much of the shoulder blade on the floor as possible. This will really help bring more oxygen into the lungs. Gently close the eyes, top to bottom. And take the attention to the breath. Release the top jaw from the bottom jaw. And any place where you feel additional or excess tension in the body, send the breath there. To come out of the pose, bend the legs. On an exhalation, roll to the right, round it back. Roll yourself up to a seated position. You can always use your block, whatever you have, to get a little height. If you sit a lot, that's definitely, as a general rule, better for the spine. So I'm sitting on the block so I can really, really lift. So the props are here to help us. They're not to make the pose necessarily easier, but they're here to teach us something. So I'm looking to get that extension in the spine that we've been working on the whole class. The lower half of the body is heavy, the upper half is light. Palms to the heart. Bow the head. Thank you so very much, and I look forward to practicing yoga with you next time. Bye, everyone.